We begin today with a couple comments to give you a good sense for where Niner fans are right now. 2 YouTube comments from my last video. From Heem Laden, quote, "I'm convinced that most Niner fans are delusional, just like Cowboy fans." That cuts deep. "If you truly think we're about to make a run, you're fooling yourself." Secondly, in all caps and exclamations, "Our window has closed." A few comments later, this: "People acting like this roster isn't already good enough to win the Super Bowl need to take a break from football and relax." So that's about the state of things. And I think anybody that's living in the real world knows that's about the state of things. Early on, Thursday morning, Austin Mock of The Athletic posted this: "NFL strength of schedules. Who has the toughest remaining schedule?" All right. Number one, it's the Steelers. Number two, it's the Patriots. Number three, it's the Browns. And number four is the 49ers. The Niners playing the Bucs this week, who have the easiest remaining strength of schedule, by the way. Seahawks in after the Niners. The NFC West, for the most part, because it still plays itself, once Arizona, the easiest strength of schedule remaining in the division. Niners got Seattle, got the Bucs, go to the Packers, go to Buffalo, Bears, Rams, at Dolphins, Lions, and at Cardinals. Mock goes on to say this: 6 of the Niners' 9 remaining games will come against teams that are 500 or better. Given all of the injuries the 49ers are still facing, it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. My model currently gives them a 41% shot of winning the playoffs, which feels extremely low, right? And that's not his opinion. That's what the metrics say. Anyone who's watched the Niners this year knows that at their worst, they definitely don't look like a playoff team. And they've put themselves in this position where so much of what I've talked about, because their division just is so kind of blah, is the math, right? The math. Just win the games, win the math. You don't have to look impressive. You don't have to look like a Super Bowl champion in November. You certainly didn't in October. But you don't have to win the Super Bowl till January and February. What you have to do now is just make the playoffs and improve and try to be playing your best football by the end of the year, right? All of that stuff. And they have to maintain just being in position to do that until they can get it together. Just win enough games until you can actually get it together. Win without your best. But I was sitting with my wife at Phil's Coffee on Polk Street. Yeah, I love Phil's. It's my go-to. In fact, the homebrew is also Phil's Coffee. Phil's with a Z. No promo code on that. And she's like, "How you feeling this week about the?" I'm traveling Thursday to go. I'm going to Arrowhead to do the Iowa State-Kansas game on FS1. And so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, really trying to maximize, make sure that I'm being a present and semi contributing husband. So we're hanging out at lunch, and she's like, "Well, how do you feel about the game?" And I said, uninspired, right? You know what I need? I need to be inspired by this team. They need to inspire me, because I've been talking about for 2 months the math, and it's true. I mean, that is the reality of their situation. It's uninspiring. Math is, for most of us, uninspiring. But this is a week where I would love for them to do just a little more than make good math. Go play the Bucs, who just played a tough game, heartbreaking game, physical game, short week game, Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. And for the love of God, inspire me. Last year, when the Niners came off the bye, a lot of people will remember, I think we were all feeling a little uninspired about things. And they went and played a team that normally you beat the Jags. That doesn't inspire anybody. They lost 3 in a row. And they pounded the Jags. They beat the Jaguars 34-3. Everything was working. That back of the end zone throw that Purdy made, that Ayuk went and jumped up and grabbed it. Everything was working. And they kicked the Jags' ass. And after the game, the feeling was, for me, right, was like, was that something or was that nothing? Because, that was the Jags. And then they beat the Bucks, and then they beat Seattle, and they beat Philly. And last year they had Philly in the second half. Tough. They had Baltimore in the second half. Tough. Washington was not Washington. So it was not quite the top to bottom schedule that we're looking at now. They still had Seattle twice. They had Arizona and the Rams, right? And they won 3 of those 4 divisional games down the stretch. The only one they lost was week 18. That didn't matter anymore. So this is like the Jags game last year, right? Go win the game that in the moment, and the Bucs are better than the Jags, by the way. Like the Bucs, Baker, they deserve that respect. They almost beat Kansas City. Maybe they could have if their coach makes a different decision at the end of the game. So I don't think we should overlook Tampa, but if you're going to be the kind of team that flips the switch, if you're going to be the kind of team that you get McCaffrey back, you get Jennings back, Pearsall starts playing a little more and a little more. I mean, Ricky P's playing as much as Juszczyk. He played one more snap than Kyle Juszczyk did last week. Ricky P, is this a breakout game? If he starts getting guys around him, to me, we're really going to see Pearsall evolve once McCaffrey and Jennings get back on the field. And I mentioned it the other week. I mean, so much attention on Christian, rightfully so, but the Jennings absence has been so significant. We actually saw him this year, and you know how impactful he can be. So I think there is this, I don't know if there's going to be an explosion, because that's not, to me, Ricky Pearsall is kind of the steady, which is what they need, because they've been so unsteady in every other way. But I do think there's another level to him coming when he gets some of those other guys around him. And, I think some of those other guys, at least 1 or 2 of those guys maybe is coming this week. So in preparation for the football game I'm doing, Iowa State, Kansas, Arrowhead, on FS1 this weekend, 12:30 Pacific, you talk to the coaches. And usually the way it works is you talk to the visiting team on Wednesday on Zoom, me and the producer and the director and our analyst, Yogi Roth. And then Friday, we go talk to the home team. So Friday, we're going to Lawrence, Kansas, and go talk to the Kansas coaches. There's a point to this for you, for Niner fans. Maybe go to the North Carolina, Kansas game on Friday night basketball, and then head back to Kansas City and call the game. And I've called Kansas games before. I've never called an Iowa State game. So as you might imagine, I was very excited to talk to Matt Campbell, Brock's old college coach, yesterday. And he's a Browns fan. I was like, God, Browns fan playing at Arrowhead. He said, honestly, I'm a Browns fan, but Brock Purdy ruined it for my whole family because he's got 4 kids. He's like, I wanted to raise my boys Browns fan. My kids, he's got, I think, 3 boys and a girl. He said, I want to raise my kids Browns fans and Cleveland Guardians fans and Cavaliers fans. And it sucks because now all my kids are Niners fans because of Brock. But that's not the point. The point is this. So Iowa State was undefeated until last week when they lost to Texas Tech. And so now they're facing some adversity. And I'm going to sound like a coach. Coaches, I talk to, the 7-8 coaches a week more because I go on the field before the game and talk to these guys. And I start thinking like some of the stuff they think and say, it really is impactful and useful. And he said, to my team, we're no different after we lost to Texas Tech than we were supposed to be after we beat University of Central Florida. He said, this is what he said. He said, you have to go through adversity to be complete. If you read the Bible, you'll recognize that quote. I don't, but he shared it with us, and I thought it was really cool. You have to go through adversity to be complete. It's a version of what I've always believed. Like you can't have the experience without having the experience. And if you look at it through that lens, and I every time, if you look at it through that lens, there is a very cool opportunity in front of Brock Purdy. Every time the Niners find themselves down late or up a score, up 3, up 7 with 3 minutes to play, and they're getting the ball, and it's an opportunity to put the ball game away, I get excited. I really do. I mean, because these are all opportunities, specifically for Brock Purdy. These are opportunities to see him kind of write a chapter in his career, right? And some of those moments are smaller. Some of them hadn't happened. Come back last year against the Browns, he put it together. This year against Arizona, They didn't put it together, right? They had that opportunity this year against Arizona. They didn't put it together. In fact, they had the opportunity before the bye and didn't put it together against Dallas. But he held on to the ball on that sack, right? But they didn't put the drive together, and they still won the game. So they got away with it that day. But this is similar, right? For whatever the offseason is going to be. And somebody sent me a great message yesterday because I made a comment about, they don't have to pay Brock. The Niners don't have to pay him. They still got the leverage. And I don't have it in front of me, but somebody sent me a message that said it was something like, oh, great. November 5th, we're talking about Niners. Tell me more about the Niners leverage. Didn't we just talk about Niners negotiation leverage all off season? I'm like, yeah, actually, that's a pretty good point. But with all of that, so we in 3 months, we'll look back and know what happened in November and know what happened in December and know what happened in January. But right now, we don't know. And I think the fun of it is, you'd love for your team to win 35-0 every week. And you'd love to be undefeated and the 1 seed and just roll to championships. And that would be fun. Doesn't happen, but that would be fun. But that's not real sports because that's not real life. This is real life. 4-4, and a lot of people selling, and the odds models say 41% chance to make the playoffs. And it's probably a little harder for Purdy than it's been before, just because of, the injuries around him. And so, in this adversity is an opportunity. And that's where I'm excited about it. Now we'll see. Like this week, I might be watching the Bucs going, forget about that. Like just stop. This game's 14-10 in the third quarter. Come on, guys. I don't know. But that is what that's got me excited. By the way, I mentioned this the other day. I talked to a scout. I just walked up to a guy in the field, a game I was doing a few weeks ago. And I said, anybody out there remind you of Brock? And he said, yeah, Rocco Becht, the quarterback at Iowa State. It was Anthony Becht's son. So comment. Let's go to some YouTube comments, some live comments. Early morning here, Pacific time zone. And then I got the first bird smoking out of SFO to jump on. That's my favorite way to say I got a flight. B. Lawrence says, we're adding the most versatile offensive weapon in the league in McCaffrey. Metrics are out the window if he plays. Yeah, everything changes if he plays. But, I've cautioned against putting it all on when he's back, everything is fixed. Not because that's not true. It is true. When he's back, a lot of things are fixed. But will he stay back? It's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Shanahan's still kind of hedging on whether or not he returns. It's Thursday today, but Ernest says, I don't care if the Niners have a losing season. I'll still be watching. Faithful then and faithful now. That's very sweet, Ernest. That's great. You don't get to be a top 5 franchise, fill the stadium, get all the great ratings with Ernests. Ernest, you are a wonderful person and a great loyal fan and probably a wonderful friend to all your friends. But I got to tell you, I'm not as fired up for that. For me, for you, God bless. JD says, do you think, Guy, that they will use Yetur Gross-Matos mostly as an edge player on rundowns to help Floyd? I mean, it's a good question. That was part of the plan when they got him, was to move him in and out. I guess it depends how well your interior is playing. If your interior is playing well enough and you can put him out there a little bit, maybe. But like, if Floyd's not on the outside on rush downs, then what are we doing with him? Like, I think you kind of need him to do that. My guess is if you asked Chris Kasarik right now, he'd say, we just got to put our best 4 out there. And I know they feel like Yetur Gross-Matos can be among their best 4. That's what they signed him for. I don't know that we haven't had a lot of chance to see him. I don't know if it quite looked like that yet. I would say just put your best 4. So, hey, by the way, not a big Prize Picks ad here, but code Guy Prize Picks. Use that. I got something else to tell you about too. But code Guy Prize Picks. You make a $5 lineup, you immediately get $50 into your account. And also brought to you by Now, I mentioned this the other day on a stream, this company called timbre.co, timbre.co. It's very cool. It is audio interviews of whoever you want, of you. Let's say you want to leave maybe your story, your legacy behind in a 90-minute interview done by a professional interviewer and then edited and delivered to you. You want to do it for somebody you love, a spouse, a parent, a grandparent, that sort of thing. Go to timbre.co, send a message. I was curious last time when I put it out there, would people be interested? And the answer was yes. We got several inquiries. You go to timbre.co and you can just fill out the form at the bottom. And I say we because it's my company that I've been working on with my business partner, Ashley Adamson, who's awesome. And we've been doing these we started it last year and we've been doing them quietly and have been building it up. And, it's a high touch, I would say, high fidelity, very personal product, right? So it is, it ranges in price from around $800 to $1,500, depending on kind of what you need. But if you're open to it, if you're interested, send a note and we can tell you more about it. timbre.co. Just wanted to share that with you because I got a few emails from people like, what was that company you mentioned? I'm like, well, actually, it's my company. So go check it out. All right. That's all for this. We appreciate y'all. And there's Puesto in the background. Not a home game week, but get some Puesto this week. They're not paying this week, but that's okay because I love them. It's authentic and sincere because their food is authentic and sincere. It's amazing. If you're in the Bay Area, they got 2 locations. Just go to puesto.com. San Diego, Orange County, load it up for the game this week or do it after the game. Early game. We have not had, how many 10 a.m. games on the West Coast have we had for the Niners this year? 1, the Vikings game. This is only the second. And it will only be the second. The Niners only play, that's crazy. I'm sure I realized this at the beginning of the year, but didn't really register with me. 2 10 a.m. Pacific games all season. No wonder it feels like every Sunday I'm doing a show late. Because that's the case. So, all right, that'll be fun. I'm going to land early Sunday morning from Kansas City and be home in time to watch the Niners and do some stuff after that. What's the temp in San Francisco? 21 degrees in Nevada. The city was amazing yesterday. It was very nice. Anyway, all right, I got to roll. You got to roll.